Good morning, YouTubians. It's Kermit's Ghost. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy. Clearly I'm back in the UK. It's a Blu-ray hunting Monday and I have to find somewhere to shelter, else you're never going to hear a word I'm going to say. Yeah, I am definitely back in the UK. Now you may notice it's got a bit of a rough voice. That's because on the flight back from Gran Canaria, a guy sat in front of me was coughing for the entire flight, 4.5 hours, coughing constantly. I'm sure you're just trying to pass on his infection to me. Well, it's worked. Okay, before I head into HMV and see what's on the shelves, I'm only going to show you this week's releases. Looks like Christmas has arrived in Brighton. I'm going to give a shout out to my niece and nephew. It's my first time meeting them. Hannah, lovely girl, has a thirst for knowledge. Everything that she reads, she kind of absorbs and remembers. Very clever girl. And Harry as well. What the hell, Harry? You know what I mean when I say that, Harry? Melonhead and Sunshine, whatever his name was. Keep watching them. Anyway, lovely kids. It was a pleasure to meet them. Let's head off, get a coffee, because I am absolutely parched. Cafe con leche, coffee is the only word I remember from Spain. Okay, before we head in and grab that all-important coffee, a big thank you to my brother Stuart and his wife for letting us stay. I don't have a picture of Maria, but I do have a picture of my brother, which I'll put up in the corner now. And thank you as well, Stuart, for pointing out the Corte Anglaise where they sold Blu-rays. I'll put a bit of footage in of that store. Okay, yes, I said I wasn't going to film when I was away on holiday, but I do have my wife's phone with me. Got a latte, and behind me is a department store that my brother assures me sells Blu-rays. So I'm going to pop in there, have a look, and maybe pick up a couple of titles. If I do, I will talk about them when I get back to the UK. Okay, so I managed to find 5 or 6 titles in there, so I'll either show them a little bit later in this video or when I get back to the UK. So I'm sat in Costa contemplating what is out today and what to pick up. Lovely latte today, very soothing. May have to grab another one take home to keep the old voice box lubricated. Nice and quiet in Costa today, just how I like it. Well, as I'm standing in HMV's doorway, I can see that they're advertising in the window on the TV screen Gran Turismo, which is a film I've not seen. But what t-shirts made it to the mannequin this morning? Will it be Cynthia? No, in actual fact, it is Gremlins. So the first title to show you is Blue Beetle. It's a DC superhero movie. Yes, another one. I will be getting this one though. I did see it in the cinema. This is available on Blu-ray, priced at $14.99. Comes with a nice slipcover. DVD, which has an alternate image, is $9.99. And on this occasion, there is a 4K as well, and it's the same cover image as a Blu-ray, and that will set you back $24.99. Next is Doctor Who: The Underwater Menace. Here it is, available on Blu-ray as well as a Blu-ray steelbook and a DVD. It's the half-missing series of season 4, which aired January 1967, episodes 1 to 4 animated. and it has a runtime of 95 minutes. Blu-ray is $19.99, DVD $14.99, and the Steelbook is priced at $29.99. Next film to show you is Gran Turismo. This is available on Blu-ray, DVD and 4K, and it's about a gamer who becomes a professional racer. It stars David Harbour and Orlando Bloom, and it's available on Blu-ray for $14.99. DVD is priced at $9.99, and you guessed it, 4K, it should say $24.99, but they forgot to put the ticket on it. This has a 12 certificate. Bell, Book and Candle next. This stars James Stewart, Kim Novak and Jack Lemmon. It's a romantic comedy from 1958. It's the first time this is on Blu-ray in the UK. £12.99 for this one today. Here is Death Race 2000 from 1975. Stars David Carradine and Sly Stallone. I think this was out last week. Next is Go, a crime comedy from 1999. It stars Katie Holmes and Timothy Olyphant. Directed by Doug Liman, who did Edge of Tomorrow and Jumper. This is $12.99. Is it me or are Blu-ray prices dropped? Next is Are We There Yet? A family road comedy from 2005. And a sequel to this has been available on Blu-ray since 2007. So you may have been waiting for this one for 16 years to complete the set. Again, $12.99. What's going on? So here are some pre-orders. Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny 4K Steelbook limited stock comes out on the 4th of December. Prey, that comes out, well, the regular edition comes out on the 27th of November. I'm assuming the Steelbook will too. And then we have Oppenheimer, which is a mid-week release. So Loki, the complete first season, it's out 27th of November. Mandalorian Season 2, both of these are 4K Steelbooks. That's out the 15th of January. However, Mandalorian Season 1, 4K Steelbook, is out 11th of December. And WandaVision Season 1 4K Steelbook is out on the 4th of December. And these are not going to be cheap. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem limited 4K Steelbook is out on the 4th of December. And I believe the Blue Beetle should be out today. Eye of the Devil next from the Warner Archive Collection. This stars Deborah Kerr, David Niven and Donald Pleasance. $14.99 for this British mystery horror. The Long Shadow next. This is a TV miniseries put out by Dazzler Media. It's about the Yorkshire Ripper and his victims. This is very reasonably priced at $17.99 and it's definitely worth watching. Next is No Sex Please, We're British, a 1973 comedy directed by Cliff Owen. This does a whole host of British comedic talent, but will probably seem a little bit dated today. This is priced at $12.99. Scrapper next from Picture House Entertainment. This 2023 comedy drama stars Harris Dickinson and Lola Campbell. It's about a daughter who has to live with her father after the death of her mother, but he's a total stranger to her. Again, $12.99. Santa Claus, the movie next on Blu-ray and 4K. Obviously, this is a Christmas film, and this stars Dudley Moore, Jonathan Lithgow, Burgess Meredith, and David Huddleston as the man himself. Lovely Christmas movie, this one. Great for the family. $14.99 for the Blu-ray, $22.99 for the 4K, and they both come with glossy slipcovers. Hey everybody, welcome back. So I've got a fair few to get through this week. Don't know if I can get through them all because I've got a bit of a sore throat, but I will try my best. Got a sore throat, so bear with me. Going to start off with one or two movies sent over from Imprint Films to me to show on my channel. Thank you very much. The first one is The Mad Room. It's a horror drama written and directed by Bernard Gerard. It's from 1969, and the movie follows the character of Ellen Hardy, who's being played by Stella Stevens, who sadly passed away earlier this year. Ellen works as a living assistant for a wealthy woman called Mrs. Armstrong, who is being played by Shelley Winters. The pair of them actually went on to work together a few years later in the film Poseidon Adventure. Now, Ellen has two younger siblings, George and Mandy, and let's just say they've been housed in a mental institution for the last 12 years for the possible murder of their parents. Not only were they children when this happened, but they also have no recollection of the event, which is kind of a key point in this story. Bear that in mind. Now, they're both of adult age. They have to be recategorized and moved to another facility, but Ellen steps in. She agrees to take care of them. Obviously, she conceals the fact that it could be murderers before she persuades Mrs. Armstrong to let them stay in her house. And would you believe it? It's not long before Mrs. Armstrong turns up stabbed to death. And this all happens in the disused study now known as the Mad Room, which is a safe space for George and Mandy to go if they ever feel anxious. Ellen covers up the murder, and let's just say she has skeletons of her own. I won't say what they are, and I won't say any more either, other than this film is elevated by the fact that Shelley Winters is in it. I don't think it would have been as good if she wasn't. There's also a nice twist to the story as well. George and Mandy, very creepy in their very calm mannerisms. Mandy was played by Barbara Samith, and this was her first feature film. George is played by Michael Burns, who actually, on top of acting, went on to become a professor of history, so he gets my thumbs up right there. Picture quality is very good for a film of this age. There is an occasional scratch on the film, but it's not distracting in any way. Overall, it is very crisp. I will say, Very peculiar ending to this one. It's got a runtime 1 hour 33 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So the slip box and the cover have a different image. The image from the slip box has been put onto the disc. And on the reverse of the cover, there's an image there of Stella Stevens making a nice little picture in blood. So that was The Mad Room. The next imprint title is Night of the Eagle, which has the alternate title in the United States of Burn Witch Burn. This is a black and white psychological British horror from 1962, directed by Sidney Hayers, who predominantly directed TV shows, TV movies. And it stars Peter Wingate as Professor Norman Taylor, who is a teacher of the occult, superstitions, witchcraft, that kind of thing. And his wife Tansy, who's played by Janet Blair, who actually worked with Shelley Winters 17 years previously in the musical Tonight and Every Night. One evening, Tansy's looking for what she claims is a shopping list. Norman finds a large dead Jamaican spider in a pot in her pyjama drawer, as you do. She stops looking for the list, she starts acting paranoid, and then she finds a poppet attached to a lampshade. Now, in case you don't know what it is, a poppet is similar to a voodoo doll. She burns it, and the next morning her husband finds this whole host of Jamaican magical items belonging to Tansy, which he makes her destroy, burns them all. And turns out she's been practicing obia, which is a form of Jamaican witchcraft, a protection spells, if you like, and Tansy's been doing this to keep the status quo. She believes if she stops, bad things will happen, and she's not wrong, because as soon as she stops and everything's burned, bad events happen. Norman's almost run down on his way to work. A student called Margaret, played by Judith Scott, accuses him of rape. He's threatened at gunpoint by another student, and plus his house is burglarized during a storm. And was also hypnotized subliminally to believe that a large eagle statue is alive and trying to kill him. In short, he should have listened to his wife. Of course, there is an explanation for all these events, but I won't say what they are. This movie would have tapped into the paranoia of voodoo at the time. Picture quality on this is crystal clear, fine performances throughout. There's a lot of interesting special features included on this. If you can see there, the film is 1 hour 30 minutes. Loved it. Let's take a look inside. The slip box there, which has a very striking image, is very similar actually to the alternate artwork on the cover. The slip box image has been put onto the disc. And on the reverse is actually the American alternate title, Burn Witch Burn. So that was Night of the Eagle. Thank you so much to Imprint Films for sending those over for me to review. I thoroughly enjoyed both of these. I think I'm starting to prefer older films to your more modern movie nowadays. Okay, so on to films I picked up from Gran Canaria, and the first one is Lamborghini, the Man Behind the Legend, which is a biographical drama about the rise of Ferruccio Lamborghini and how he became synonymous with extravagantly stylish, powerful sports cars. A title character here is being played by Frank Grillo. Ferruccio started out manufacturing and repairing tractors, progressing to military vehicles during his conscription in the Second World War as he was a mechanic in the Italian Royal Air Force. Now, Ferruccio was always a massive fan of Ferrari. He had several of his cars, but he found there was an issue with the clutch, and he solved the issue himself and took the findings to Enzo Ferrari, asking him for a partnership in the company if he handed over the solution to the clutch issues. Enzo Ferrari is being played here by Gabriel Byrne, and Ferruccio's proposal is immediately dismissed, and it kind of drives his determination to produce a better vehicle than Ferrari ever did. Now, music is provided by Thomas Cantalinin, who also composed the score for Mindhunters and Legend of Hercules. It's got a short runtime of 97 minutes. Let's take a look inside. And that front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Lamborghini, the Man Behind the Legend. Okay, next one is Big George Foreman. This is a biopic directed by George Tillman Jr., whose films include The Hate You Give and Men of Honor, which is a great film. And this has Chris Davis playing the world heavyweight boxing champion, Olympic gold medalist, and the man behind the George Foreman grill. I've got to be honest, I really didn't know a lot about George Foreman, other than he was a boxer who fought Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle event in 1974, and that he was the face behind some kind of grill. So what did I learn? Well, George came from very humble beginnings, in and out of trouble. He went to the Job Corp to help him learn a trade, and it's there he struck up a friendship with Doc Bordas, being played by Forrest Whitaker, who teaches him to box in the ring, and George went on to win the heavyweight boxing championship of the world. Later he has a near-death experience which changes his perspective on life and takes him on a path of religion. His friend invests his money poorly, forcing him to return to the ring. And I won't say any more. I love a biopic. Gives you a chance to delve deeper into someone you may have a preconceived notion of, which may have been wrong. On this particular occasion, I really didn't know enough to have an opinion on him, but now I do. It's got a budget, or had a budget of $32 million, but only took 6 at the box office, which was a shame because this was a very interesting watch. I recommend it. It's got a runtime of 2 hours 9 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So on the disc there was an image of George Foreman's boxing glove, which you would not have wanted to be on the receiving end of, because it was said that he had the strongest punch in boxing history. So that was Big George Foreman. Okay, next is The Lost King. Now I didn't know this had a Blu-ray. I've been searching this for a long time. Didn't know until I saw it on the shelves. It's a biopic from this year directed by Stephen Frears, whose films include The Queen, High Fidelity, Philomena and The Van, many others as well. This stars the lovely Sally Hawkins as Philippa Langley, a woman who's suffering from ME, who develops a passion on the subject of Richard III after attending a play. She then goes on to join the Richard III Society, believing that he's been unjustly judged through history, and this leads her to have visions of Richard and eventual conversations together. Now Philippa delves deeper in his demise, and she visits Dr. Ashdown Hill, who is played by James Fleet, who you may know was John Constable in the film Mr. Turner. Dr. Ashdown Hill tells Philippa that not only does he believe that Richard's undiscovered burial site is likely to be in an open space, but he's also tracked down a living relative. So in the event that she does actually find Richard's remains, they can test the DNA for a match to confirm that it's really him. And in a strange twist of fate, she gets this gut feeling when she sees this open air car park and a parking space with the letter R on it. And this is actually a true story. There's a lot more to the story, but I'll leave it there. But it also stars Steve Coogan as John Langley, which is Philippa's estranged husband. You've also got Mark Addy as Richard Buckley. He's got this subplot during the film, which I didn't actually touch upon, but I won't go into it. And it's got Harry Lloyd as Richard III as well. Now you may know Harry from The Iron Lady, where he played the young Dennis Thatcher. It's got a runtime, this one, of 108 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So the front cover image has been put onto the disc. I'll say this about Spain, they put images on their discs. So that was The Lost King. Next film is Scoop, a crime romance movie from 2006. Got an interesting premise, this one. Written, directed and starring Woody Allen. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Alongside him, we've got Scarlett Johansson as Sondra Pransky, a student reporter who's on vacation in the UK, who gets involved in the investigation of a serial killer known as the Tarot Card Killer. Chief suspect is Pete Lyman, being played by Hugh Jackman. Sondra gets involved in the story of the Tarot Card Killer when she's picked out of the audience during a magic show starring the great Splendini, aka Sid Waterman, who's being played by Woody Allen. During the vanishing trick while she's in the disappearing box, she encounters the ghost of Joe Stromble, who is one of the victims of the Tarot Card Killer, and he points her in the direction of Pete and gets her to investigate him. Joe is played by Ian McShane. I love his acting. I won't say any more on that story-wise, but also stars Julian Glover, who you may know from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He was the one that chose Paulie. It's Walter Donovan, chose the Cup of Christ Paulie. He was also the voice of Aragog in Harry Potter. Also stars Charles Dance, Anthony Head, Jeff Bell, who's popped up in a lot of things, Victoria Hamilton from the show The Crown and Cobra, and oddly enough, Alexander Armstrong from Pointless. You knew. Anyway, this one's got a runtime of 93 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So the image on the slipcover and the cover are exactly the same. 2 discs, 1 Blu-ray, 1 DVD. And on the reverse of the cover, there are some screenshots of the actors involved in the movie. So that was Scoop. Next one to show you is the first of 2 Christmas films. First one is The Last Train to Christmas. It's a Sky original put out by Dazzler Media, written and directed by Julian Kemp, and this is set on a train en route from London to Nottingham on Christmas Eve 1985. And the movie centres around a character called Tony Towers, who's played by Michael Sheen. Incredible actor. He's played Brian Clough, David Frost, Tony Blair, just to name a few. Great actor. Tony's a nightclub owner. He's on the train with his fiancée Sue Taylor. Sue is played by Natalie Emmanuel, and you may know her from the Fast and Furious franchise. Her character was Ramsey in that one. Anyway, Tony is meeting his brother Roger, played by Carrie Elwes, I think that's how you say his name, an actor who seems to be in everything. He's even in the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. Roger's wife Paula is played by Kathleen Kelly, another very good actress. She started out in Coronation Street, and since then she's gone from strength to strength. Actually, she stars in something I'll show later as well. Whilst on the train, Tony flits from carriage to carriage, each time travelling either forward or backwards in time. As he goes further back in the train, further back in his life he visits, and the same applies with the carriages towards the front of the train, which shows his possible future. And the future isn't looking rosy for Tony whatsoever. So he works out if he hops back to the earlier carriages, he can maybe change the timeline and improve his future. This was actually better than I thought it was going to be, I've got to say that. The ending was a little bit of a letdown though. Watch out for that. Also stars Hayley Mills from the Parent Trap movies, Robin Asquith from the Confessions on movies. Quite a long one, 1 hour 50 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So inside, that front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Last Train to Christmas. The other Christmas film, also a Sky original, also from Dazzler Media, is A Christmas Number 1. Directed by Chris Cotham, who had a cameo role in this as an MC of a club. From 2021, it's a rom-com drama, stars Helena Zengel as Nina Cutter. Now you remember Helena as the little girl in News of the World, the Tom Hanks film. She was kidnapped by the Native Americans against her will. In this, she's a teenager who is suffering from terminal cancer, and she wants her uncle Blake, who is being played by Iwan Ruyan from Game of Thrones, to write her a Christmas song. I should point out that he's a member of a heavy metal band, and a rather unsuccessful one at that. Now, he encounters a woman called Meg Rye at one of his small gigs. He accidentally hits her in the face with his guitar, and she happens to work for a music signing company. Now, Meg is being played by Frida Pinto, who you may know was Caroline in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Well, alongside writing the Christmas song, Nina also wants her uncle and Meg to become an item. So I think you can tell where this is heading. Or is it? Now, Iwan actually wrote the Christmas song featured in this film alongside Guy Chambers, because he is a talented musician. Now, despite being a Christmas movie, this does cover some depressing issues, so have a hanky at the ready if you're going to watch this one. It's got a runtime of 1 hour 52 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So the front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was A Christmas Number 1. Next coveted film, The Haunted Mansion. This is the second film put out by Disney based on the theme park ride. This time directed by Justin Simeon, his third feature film, and it stars Lakeith Stanfield as Ben Mathias, who is an astrophysicist who actually changes his career path after he meets Alyssa, played by Charity Jordan, at a party. She's a ghost tour guide and they soon marry, but sadly she dies in a car crash, and this is when Ben changes his direction and continues her work as a ghost tour operator in an attempt to find her spirit, but he's a non-believer. Meanwhile, and a few years later, across town, a mother and son moved into a haunted mansion named Gracie Manors in the hopes of turning it into a bed and breakfast. The mother is Gabby, being played by Rosario Dawson, and the son is Travis, being played by Chase W. Dillon. Keep an eye out for him. I think that kid is going places. Well, soon they discover the mansion's overrun with all types of spirits, and they hire a priest to exorcise the house. The priest is Father Kent, being played by Owen Wilson. He's not what he's claiming to be. I won't say any more. He in turn hires Ben to try and capture a spirit using a film on specially adapted lenses. At first he doesn't believe in it, but when the spirit follows him home, it leaves him no choice but to return to Gracie Manors. I won't say any more story-wise, but it also stars Jared Leto, Tiffany Haddish, Winona Ryder, uncredited, Jamie Lee Curtis and Danny DeVito. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this version. The effects have come on leaps and bounds since the 2003 version. Well worth checking out. It's got a runtime of 122 minutes. Take a look inside. Well, I am shocked because there is an image on this Disney disc and it's not the same as the front cover image. So that was Haunted Mansion. Now, if you know HMV and the story so far, these are like gold dust if you can find them at all. If you find one, get it, because they are few and far between. Okay, next one to show you is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, to call this just an action film is not doing it justice at all. Directed by Chris McQuarrie, who co-wrote Top Gun Maverick, and he also directed Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Fallout and Jack Reacher, the first one. In fact, he's worked with Tom Cruise on 10 separate movies. Now, the regular IMF teams return and they've got to find 2 separate pieces of a cruciform key, which when slotted together can deactivate an AI system that's become sentient. And the team must find both pieces, which can reveal its source code, but you've got to say other less reputable organisations want it so they can have an advantage over their enemies. Rather than give anything away story-wise, I'm going to run through the cast and say their involvement in the film. So first and foremost, you've got Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, leader of the IMF team. Simon Pegg as Benji, member of the team. He's also a field agent, very technically minded. You've got Ving Rhames, another agent, computer expert. You've got Rebecca Ferguson, who's an ex-agent. Now she's disavowed, but she also works unofficially with Ethan and his team. And we've got a new character as well, Grace, who is played by the delightful Hayley Atwell. And in this, Grace is a less than trustworthy thief. Vanessa Kirby's returning as the White Widow. You may remember her, she was in Mission Impossible Fallout. You've also got S.I. Morales as Gabriel. He's after the key, he's a terrorist, and he's in cahoots with the entity. And there are some outstanding stunt sequences in this, and a very interesting car case involving a yellow Fiat 500. And as the title would suggest, there is a sequel in the making. That's due out 23rd of May 2025. It's got a runtime, this is 2 hours 43 minutes, so not a short film by any means. Let's take a look inside. So the slipcover and the cover have the same image. This is a 2-disc set, so you have the film on one, special features on the other. So that was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and there's all the characters I mentioned on the cover. Next one to show you is Blue Beetle. It's a DC superhero movie from this year, which I managed to see at the cinema, and I gotta say I wasn't overly impressed with it. Hoping second viewing it will be a little bit better. Now it stars Zoe Marandela as the title character Blue Beetle. His regular name in the film is Jamie, and he gets his powers from a scarab beetle, which is of alien origin, and he's given the beetle by Jenny just for safekeeping. She puts it in a burger box, tells him do not look at it, do not touch it, do not do anything with it, which he does within 5 minutes. Jenny has stolen the beetle from her auntie Victoria, played by Susan Sarandon from Thelma and Louise. She's running a company and intends to use it as a weapon. Now Jenny's played by Bruno Marquezine, and Jenny is kind of like a Lara Croft character, but not in an action way. Her father was an inventor, lived in a huge mansion, secret identity, disappeared, leaving the evil auntie to run the company. I won't say any more, but it's a superhero movie, so they are very predictable. Best character in this by far is a comic relief, and that is Rudy. That's Jamie's uncle, played by George Lopez. Every scene that he's in, he steals it. It wouldn't be as good if he wasn't in it. Music is provided by Bobby Critic, aka the Haxon Cloak. He was the composer on Midsummer. Fingers crossed this will be better on repeated viewing. I did go in with very high expectations, which I find is never really a good thing. Quite a lengthy one this, 127 minutes. But let's take a look inside. So the slipcover and the cover have the same image. And it's a plain blue disc in an eco case. So that was Blue Beetle. Listen, I do have more, but I'm just going to conclude it on one more because my throat is very scratchy. And what I'm going to talk about next and last is The Long Shadow TV miniseries put out by Densler Media. This aired on TV from September to November this year, which I actually watched. Thoroughly enjoyed this. I actually binged it over 2 nights. It's a story of the Yorkshire Ripper, serial killer in the UK that terrorised the country for several years during the 1970s. I won't say the exact dates in case you're planning to watch this and you are in fact unaware what happened and how long it actually went on for. I remember this vividly at the time. The fear whipped up around the country. There was actually a phone line that you could phone up and listen to the Ripper's voice, which they do actually cover in the show. The police at the time were very prejudiced towards the Ripper's victims. They were at first, and I repeat, they were at first prostitutes. The subject is very well handled, telling the victim side of things as well as showing the incompetence of the police at the time. Some of the officers were investigating this wearing figurative blinkers. Great cast in this. I won't say the identity of the Ripper or who plays him for obvious reasons, but the show features Toby Jones. I actually wish they'd used his character more, but obviously he's a real person, so that was just the way it was. Catherine Kelly, who I mentioned earlier in The Last Train to Christmas. David Morrissey, who was he was the governor in The Walking Dead. Stephen Tompkinson, Liz White, Daniel Mays, very underrated actor. He was in Fisherman's Friends, 1917, Made in Dagenham, Bank Job, many others. You'll know him if you saw him. Very good character actor. The runtime this of 340 minutes. Excellent watch. Definitely recommend this one. Let's take a look inside. So this is a 2-disc set, and the front cover image has been put onto both discs. So that was The Long Shadow. So that was it. Sorry I had to cut it short. My throat is very scratchy. Big thank you to Imprint Films for sending me those over to review. Really do appreciate it. So that was it. Have you seen any of those? Plan to pick them up or just want to leave a comment? Then do so down below. I will read every single one. Try to reply if I have the time. Give the video a thumbs up. Really does help the channel. And subscribe if you haven't. It's all free. Why wouldn't you? On that note, all that's left to say is thank you so much for choosing my channel today and watching my video. Take care. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.